This is HBR News number 465. Childless cat ladies' comments cause mayhem. I should have said cause catastrophe. Cheatle resigns, and the Ozempics, where we discuss the news of the week and give it the Badger treatment. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. I hope you guys are doing well this week and that you're laughing at all of this absurdity so that you are not consumed by it. I am your host, Brian, and I'm joined by, as always, my great and lovely co-hosts, Hannah and Dr. Random Cam.
I am neither great nor lovely. I resemble that remarkable.
Definitely lovely. He is definitely lovely. Okay. And somewhat great. Pretty great, actually. Pretty great. Pretty keen. They should bring.
Well, I think you guys are awesome.
Keen.
There we go. I think you guys are
keen.
awesome. Keen is actually pretty good because it also means highly intelligent, so
Yeah.
it works.
Sharp. All right, but anyway, so this week we're going to be discussing recent developments in the assassination investigation case, specifically with regards to the Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatle. But there's more than this. JD Vance is in hot water for making recent statements about women, which of course you're never supposed to do, no matter how much you think you care about the country enough to say something, because criticizing women means that you should have your country destroyed, because women need to be comfortable, and that's all that matters. Kamala Harris, speaking of women, is now the de facto nominee for the Democratic Party, and more, so stick around. It's going to be a good time. And be sure to join us afterwards for the patron-only show. So I don't know if Allison wants me doing this again, but I'm assuming I have to get back on this horse, and we're going to be doing more Opus, although I also might derail that whole thing and talk about some of my thoughts regarding... Well, I want to talk about the Destiny fallout in the patron show, because I want to talk about some of the friendships that he has had, and like leading up to these recent, I guess you could say, controversies, and why his friends are silent on this matter. So that just my thoughts. Okay, he's good friends with people that we supposedly liked, and those people are really silent on him being okay with fucking murder, because he's an insane person, and no one seems to be saying anything about it. It's like they want to pretend like they didn't know him, but I see you and I know that you did. So anyway, maybe I will rant about that in the patron show, or maybe I'll just go through the Opus clips, or maybe I will do both. But if you want to join us, you have to become a Badger yourself by going to feedthebadger.com and setting up a monthly subscription. That's feedthebadger.com/subscribe. $5 a month will get you into our Discord, where you'll be able to watch all of the additional content. And that would include patron shows like the one that I was just talking about, as well as works in progress, things that Allison's working on. And there's also lots of activities. I know there's a writer's room where they talk about writing, for example, and there are movie nights and so on. So please consider doing that. And also, we are still doing our monthly fundraiser. This is like the last... I think tomorrow is the last day, and we're really close. So please help us get over that final hump, so that I can continue to do this work and also put a roof over mine, Lindsay's, and especially JoJo's head. So do it for JoJo. Go to feedthebadger.com/support to help us out. And if you don't want to wake up one morning to find that we've been yeeted from the internet for our dangerous views, which include things like not believing that assassinations are good, then please check us out on where our videos are archived at, what is it?
Honeybadgerbrigade.com. And honeybadgerbrigade.com will help you find our videos on other sources besides, whichever
Feed.
one, Badger Feed.
Yeah.
But Badger Feed had gotten folded in to Honey Badger Brigade. So if you go to Badger Feed, you'll end up at Honey Badger Brigade.
It'll take you to Honey Badger Brigade.
Yeah.
Okay. So check those out. That is where our content continues to live. That is where we keep the archive. Okay. With all that out of the way, let us get into today's story. So first, a little follow-up. After being harshly questioned during a meeting with the House Oversight Committee, Concerning the failed assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump, Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatle has resigned. Cheatle was heavily criticized by both sides of the political aisle when it came to the failures of the Secret Service on that fateful day. Cheatle acknowledges that the multiple problems with security at the rally where Trump nearly lost his life and one rally goer died were, quote, significant and, quote, colossal. Current Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, calls her resignation overdue, stating, quote, now we have to pick up the pieces. We have to rebuild the American people's faith and trust in the Secret Service as an agency. It has an incredibly important responsibility in protecting presidents, former presidents, and other officials in the executive branch, and we've got a lot of work to do, end quote. Now, at the moment, it seems likely that the Secret Service Deputy Director Ronald Rowe may be the one to fill Cheatle's former position.
Yeah, she knows things. I watched that congressional hearing. It was about a week ago, exactly a week ago, and I watched it all the way through. And if there's one thing you can take from it, she knows a whole bunch of shit that she's not telling on. Every time she responded to a question with, I would have to refer you to the FBI's investigation. Yeah, yeah, that means I can't tell you that, or the FBI will kill me. On some occasions, she genuinely didn't know. Like whenever a Democrat took their turn to speak and spent the whole 5 minutes grilling her about gun control. Do you think AR-15s should be allowed? Do you think the existence of assault rifles makes your job easier or harder? Easier or harder? Answer the question. The squad, for instance, was all present and accounted for, all doing their own modern dance interpretation of the script, the message. They'd never even mentioned Trump. Just women of color are dying from guns all over the place. How dare you come out here and not immediately blame guns for everything? And Kim Cheatle's there like, bitch, my job is firing the guns. Your job is banning the guns. What the fuck? I'm not a legislator, just like how you're not a biologist. Yeah. She didn't say that, obviously. She just went, I don't know. And endless different iterations of, I don't know. And until some douchebag, I can't remember his name, but I'll never forget his face. Some douchebag escalated it to, what if everyone had rocket launchers? Would that make your job harder? And Kim Cheatle reluctantly said yes. And everyone had a brief moment of levity as a single nail popped out of the armor-plated veil of ignorance. It was the only question. It was one of the only questions she did answer. The only garden path she allowed herself to be walked down, and it was the gun-grabbing one. The fucking president was an inch away from death because of the gross dereliction of duty of this cunt. And all these ghouls could talk about was the importance of disarming American citizens. Absolute scumbag. Anyway, the point is she knows stuff. She knows all of the stuff, or at least some of the stuff. Maybe she didn't do it, but she knows who did it. She knows who she takes orders from, and clearly she fears them. Whoever it is, they've proved themselves to be pretty trigger happy with their enemies, or indeed just their loose ends, as it were. So it's a tricky situation. On the one hand, it's certainly not good enough that Kim Cheatle gets off scot-free with her golden parachute and her 50 acres of land and her 30 pieces of silver. She should be in prison. She should be facing the punishment for the highest treason in the land, whatever that may be. On the other hand, we do need her alive because she knows things that could bring down a huge house of cards if everyone else knew them. An eventuality that is already long overdue, IMO. So she needs to be punished, but she also needs to be kept safe and protected. So for a compromise, let's say she should be in prison, but it needs to be a maximum security prison. And I mean maximum. I mean Clinton proof. No dodgy cameras, no shady guards, no flimsy chain of command. I want this bitch 10 stories underground in a sealed concrete pit where she has to breathe and eat gruel through the same small hole. Keep her there until she confesses. And in the end, I'll probably go the same way. It will all probably go the same way as the Ghislaine Maxwell thing. She'll confess. She'll go on trial in secret. She'll spill the beans on everyone she worked with. She'll list her clients one by one, and nobody outside that legal chamber will ever find out who's on that list. We'll just add Kim Cheatle to incarcerated collection of traitors and criminals who are cursed with knowing the truth and never again getting to speak it. Maybe if we accumulate enough of them, we'll get a coupon for a free one. It'll be great. Let this be a lesson, folks. Whenever you see a blue D, I mean, whenever you see a Democrat and anything approaching the emblem of a blue D, run away. Don't try to distract it. Don't try yelling at it. Don't try to make yourself look big or any of that. Just run away. And for the love of God, don't work with them. Don't agree to anything they might rope you into, because you'll have to tell a lie, and then you have to tell another lie to cover that lie, then a series of lies to cover the previous series of lies until your back breaks from all the lies, and they'll take you around the back and shoot you like they do with racehorses. Or you'll end up chained to the floor at the bottom of a concrete bunker for the rest of your life. Hey, I don't make the rules. Oh, wait, I do. I imagine this scenario for my own therapeutic reasons. In reality, Kim Cheatle is probably going to get away with it and live happily ever after in the paradise that's been promised to her. But rest assured, if you were in a world created by me, then everything would be. God, they would be terrible.
There would be floods and famines and
good Lord,
darkness.
Can you imagine a world created by me? I could barely make an omelet. All right, so fair enough. Carry on, everyone. All things considered, you're doing rather well. The world is only just starting to suck as much as it would if I were in charge. I should drink more, and then I should drink less, and then I should drink more again, and then I should let someone else talk. Sorry.
Okay, Hannah, get in there.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Mike said. I will also point out that people are going to put this down as an example of female accountability, but this woman should have resigned the day this happened. The resignation was too late, too little, and yeah, the hearing was a clown show. And this is par for the course with government officials. So it's not just her femininity that kept her from having to be accountable. It was also the fact that she was part of the bureaucracy, right? And so she has protections, and she can say things. She has the best lawyers. She knows what to do to stay out of trouble. And she'll go on, and she'll end up in some other cushy government job, and everybody will forget what she did to a degree. Like, she won't be pursued by this in her career. She won't be paid attention to after this, because by resigning, she's now out of the spotlight. And that's it. Or she'll have some cushy government retirement on your tax dollars. And people
Yeah.
will say that she was railroaded because she's a woman, or that she was mistreated over this because she's a woman, and this would have happened if she was a man, and blah, 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 because of the whole policy of DEI. Right. That this wasn't just her policy. This was a government policy. This was the administration's policy, and so on. But she implemented it, and she didn't have to. She didn't have to stay in that position when she was told this is what she was going to implement. She was put in this position because she was on board with that. And I recently saw, I don't usually like memes I find on Facebook because they're usually boomer memes, and that ship has sailed. But somebody pointed out that DEI stands for didn't earn it.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the best way to put that. And, at the very least, and I still like switching it around to DIE, but, I don't think she earned it. I don't think that the people that she put in place earned it. And it's pretty obvious, given the situation that we're in now, that you cannot put people in positions of great responsibility who didn't earn it just because of their demographic, and still expect that responsibility to be upheld, because she didn't, and nobody called her on it until it was too late, and a gun had already fired. And I will also point out this, although I'm not saying that things should change this way. Everybody that's bringing up gun control is, oh, if the guy didn't have a gun, if the guy didn't have a gun. If the guy didn't have a gun, okay. But if the people that had spotted him did, the outcome also could have been cut off. Like,
Well,
the first time he fired his gun, he would have been taken down. And we don't, if the first time he pointed a gun, he would have been taken down. Somebody would have shot at him. After law enforcement ignored him, somebody would have shot at him. And we don't necessarily want a lot of people with guns around the president. But just, point of order, when you're calling for gun control, the times that a disastrous shooting have been prevented have been because somebody else had a gun that you would take a gun away from if you had the option, right? And then the other thing about this may be an instance, and this is something I just read about. Actually, Dayton Daily News just had an article about it. This may have been an instance where an individual with some mental health issues should not have been able to purchase a gun, and was. And I'm not just saying a diagnosis either. What I've been reading here is that in Dayton, Ohio, when the cops pink slip somebody, when they actually call those nice young men in their clean white coats to come and take them away, they don't. So about 5% of the time they do, and the rest of the time they don't. The rest of the time somebody gets evaluated and dropped right back out on the streets. And the guy that did the Walmart shooting, the recent Walmart shooting, not the previous Walmart shooting, which was not a shooting. It was a police-involved shooting. But the recent Walmart shooting here, that guy had been pink slipped twice and was able to buy a gun afterward. And I'm not for taking guns away from citizens with good mental health and full capability of appraising their own actions and so on. But when somebody's actions result in them getting pink slipped twice, and then they get no help, and then somebody puts a gun in their hands, we have a problem. And that's something that needs to be very seriously considered in this situation. Because I don't think anybody in their right mind would think that they could get a shot at a current or former president. I would never have thought that. I wouldn't have wanted to do it anyway. But even if I wanted to, I would have thought it was impossible, because I know, like, we've read and read and read about what Secret Service is capable of, and what high security they have and everything. So I kind of wonder, how did this mentally ill guy find these holes in this security? Obviously, he had the opinion that he could, which to me sounds crazy.
Yeah.
Until now, now it doesn't sound crazy because now it has happened. But
Mhm.
this is a situation where the failures, Meredith, this isn't about yellow flag laws. This is about, if you get pink slipped and you have presented in a way that indicates that you need to be committed, and you're not committed, and then you can go out and buy a gun, that's a problem. When the cops are running into people that are committing violence against themselves and other people, and they assess that the reason for that violence is a mental health condition, one of two things needs to happen, all right? If this is something that would get somebody incarcerated normally, and they pink slip them instead, and the person gets released, that person needs to go back into the criminal justice system then and be incarcerated. Right? That needs to be the alternative. Okay, you get help or you go to jail. And either way, then they can't get a gun. Because if you're incarcerated or if you're an inpatient, you don't get a gun. Yellow flag laws are worthless because people, for the same reason that zero tolerance is worthless in schools, people will not flag somebody unless they are 1,000% sure. They could be 100% sure that this person is dangerous, and they still won't do it because they'll think in their mind, all right, but there's the possibility that they won't act on being dangerous, and I might be taking away somebody's rights, or I might get somebody in trouble, or they might be sympathetic to the person, and then they won't get them in trouble. So now I'm not for yellow flag laws, but I am for strengthening the mental health, that end of the mental health system, and I am for strengthening that hole in the criminal justice system. If we're going to have a criminal justice system, if we're going to have a government, and the government's going to deal with these things, then it needs to do it right. Otherwise, we could just abandon having a government and let people handle it in their own families. But yeah.
All right. Well, I think that this whole thing is theater. Kimberly Cheatle resigning was less than the minimum. There should have been an investigation. There should have been an arrest. There should be penalties, and not only on her. So they're basically settling on, the shooter is dead, so we can't punish him anymore. And the person that was in charge of protecting the president, she's resigned. She's not even fired. She's resigned. And she's not under criminal investigation as of yet. And of course, the whole hearing was done so that Democrats could, pretend to be righteously angry at what happened while using this as an opportunity to make gun control arguments, which is ridiculous but predictable, because when we heard this happened, I think we all said, yeah, they're going to make this about gun control because they can't make it about MAGA Republicans or white supremacy or male rage or whatever, So this is the only thing. It's there's a flow chart. How do you react to this crisis? Who is involved? Who are the victims? What was used? Okay, so we default to this. And frankly, it's not surprising, but what I could see that the Democrats only see this kind of political posturing as the only useful outcome of this, because they can't possibly say, well, holy shit, maybe we were a little bit too hyperbolic in our rhetoric and it led to this problem. No, of course not. In fact, they've actually blamed Trump for this. oh yeah, if he wasn't such a Nazi, nobody would have tried to assassinate him. so
Jeez.
obviously that's what, yeah, but that's what I've seen for sure. So, but that aside, like, I have a feeling that we're probably not going to hear anything about Kimberly Cheatle unless there are, you know, hard-nosed journalist types that are going to do the work and follow up and apply pressure, and the Republicans stop being cowards and act on this stuff. We're probably not going to learn anything. So, and that's fine. Like, we know the depths of the corruption. We know, and this is just playing out as it would. So, anyway, well, I guess we'll leave it at that. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. Let me look at your super chow. I get a super chow from Meredith G, who gave us $5 and says, HBR News number 465. I know we aren't supposed to attribute to malice which can be explained by incompetence. The problem is you can't attribute to incompetence so many failures happening at the same time. Yeah, well, that's the thing about DEI too, which, by the way, you guys don't know this. DEI, saying something is a DEI hire is the new N-word. So, you know, be careful, because we know what you're really saying when you say DEI. But DEI is just something I've talked about on my channel. It's stochastic entryism. It's how you get woke activists to work for you. You basically hire them through DEI programs because you're more likely going to get activist mindset people, because they believe that only through DEI programs could they get the job because they belong to an oppressed class. So women, people of color, you know, LGBTQ people, whatever, if they get their job and they get it through DEI, they're going to say, well, I was only able to get this because of DEI programs, therefore I have to continue to be an advocate. And of course, they don't tell them they have to feel this way. That's why it's stochastic. They just get people and they say, you know, thanks to our new program, which basically makes it to where you guys get a chance where you otherwise wouldn't, which is a lie, of course. You now have this coveted position that was normally only held by white men, and now what are you going to do with it? And of course, they're going to say, well, I'm going to do whatever I can to protect this position and validate my, you know, the job that I just got. And so she worked at PepsiCo guarding Cheetos, and she couldn't guard an actual Cheeto, like the Cheeto in chief. So I don't know what she's gonna do. She's probably got a sweet severance package. She probably doesn't have to work again, and she took the fall, basically. Like, there were lots of other people involved with this, a lot of other moving parts, and they're just gonna stop at Kimberly Cheatle. Oh well, she dropped the ball, and we got the lone wolf crazy person. So I guess investigation over, and they're just gonna throw their hands up, and we're just gonna hope that nothing else happens between now and November. So anyway, I think that's
she is the one though that made the decision to not have enough vigilance in the moment, not have enough people paying attention. Although I want to know what is going to happen in regard to the officer who climbed up and saw the guy with the gun and then just turned around and climbed back down, but didn't say anything to anybody.
Right. Well, there's lots of questions. Like the SWAT team, they didn't get any information about what the plan was. They didn't have. Normally, they are informed. Like, there's basically like serious holes in the story in all levels, and there are definitely people who didn't know they were being played. Like people that were, you know, that would normally would have like a job to do, and they were just not informed, or they were put in the wrong place or whatever. So I'm not blaming everyone involved, but there's certainly like opportunities were created for this to happen. And that's what I'm saying. That's why that's usually the
most
best
definitely
way.
was.
Yeah, it's the best way to like let these things happen is to like, you know, there's been movies about you know, the perfect murder is like one committed by somebody who doesn't know they're a murderer, you know, like, so it's, or whatever, you know, whatever it is, like orchestrated, and these things do happen. I mean, if anybody knows how to make something look like an accident, it's the fucking Secret Service and the FBI and the CIA and all of that, and the military industrial complex. And so, you know, I don't see how that could be seen as at all contentious to say. But anyway, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. We got to move on to the next story, and hopefully I will see more super chats, super chows, and Rumble rants from you guys. So let's get into this one. So JD Vance, he is the I love this, right? So Donald Trump's vice presidential candidate JD Vance defended his 2021 comments calling Democratic politicians, quote, a bunch of childless cat ladies with miserable lives, end quote. The women on the internet lost their collective shit. These remarks have faced criticism, including from actress Jennifer Aniston, who nobody's cared about since the 90s. Vance clarified on Megyn Kelly's show that his comments were sarcastic and aimed at criticizing the Democratic Party for being anti-family and anti-children. He emphasized that becoming a parent changes one's perspective and argued that society has become skeptical of having children. Vance's original comments included questioning why some politicians, like Kamala Harris, don't have children. Kamala Harris has like an adopted daughter, I think, or a stepdaughter, suggesting it impacts their stake in the country's future. He reiterated that his criticism wasn't directed at individuals who can't have children for biological reasons, because of course this is what they made it about when he said that. Aniston, who has struggled with IVF, and Pete Buttigieg, who faced setbacks in his adoption journey, were among those who responded to Vance's remarks. Trump's co-campaign chairman, Chris LaCivita, supported Vance, affirming that Trump stands by his choice of running mate.
You know, if I had been in a position where I had to put a baby up for adoption, and I found out that Pete Buttigieg was going to be my child's dad, I might might decide that raising a kid in poverty was a better option. There are plenty of gay men out there who would be great dads. I know some. I've met plenty of guys who don't have to be straight to be a great dad. But my opinion of Pete Buttigieg is so low that I can't even compare the man to Pee Wee Herman. Like,
Yeah.
he is a clown, an absolute clown,
Pee Wee
and
Herman?
a liar. I know, Pete Buttigieg.
Pete Buttigieg. Oh,
yeah. Pete Buttigieg. Yeah, no. But yeah, the whole thing, as far as JD Vance is concerned, like, this kind of stuff is why, even if I wasn't on board with the kind of person he was otherwise, and I'm not just saying that because he's from Ohio, but even because there's a lot of people here that I'm not on board with, right?
yeah, sure.
I don't like our other senator, but in any case, I would have voted for him just for that. And he's right. They are a bunch of crazy cat ladies with no lives, miserable lives.
Right, he's not lying about what this is at its root, which I think is, like, I'm actually disappointed that he even, like, cleared it up, because what I would have explained is that the Democratic Party has essentially created a voting bloc out of single childless women. That's what it is. They've created or single mothers, so it's like single moms and single women without kids, and they've turned them into a voting bloc because they're giving them gibs in exchange for votes.
Yep.
And those women are essentially they're treating the state as their essentially the lord of their harem, and they're all the women that are on the teat there, and it's an unsustainable setup. It's unsustainable, and you can't have that existing as a voting bloc. And the worst part about this, and this is another thing that he kind of says, but he doesn't drive it home, in my opinion, is that women without children, or people without children, but women in particular, they're not invested in the future. They're only invested in their life in the moment. Like that, because there's no need. Like, if you don't have kids, but you're not worried about the debt, you're not worried about the economy, you're not worried about the jobs. You don't care because you're getting paid by the government and you're going to get yours, right? So if you don't have kids, you're not going to be thinking about that. You're going to outlive your cats, and so this is a worthwhile mention, because the people who have children, they have a legacy that they're trying to, like, preserve, that they're trying to prepare, for their children's future and their children's children, and so on.
It's not just about legacy, all right? I'm a parent. So I can
Yeah.
tell you, you worry as a parent about what your kids are going to be able to do. What is
Well,
their
that's what
life going
I'm
to be like? It's not just
right. That's
it's
what I'm
like
saying. Like,
legacy is kind of, what am I leaving behind? What is my achievement? What is this? What is like
well, can
no,
you look
it's
at
strictly about, will my kids be able to afford a house? Will my kids be able to afford to live? Will my kids ever face starvation? Right? Will the
right,
politics that are currently in place lead to a civil war that's going to cause my kids to have to fight for the safety of their home?
right. Well,
And
that's what I'm saying. I'm
yeah, and
saying that
I'm
like it's
yeah, and it's not just a minor thing, right? It's not just a lot of people act like people with kids are I don't know, not necessarily selfish but arrogant or whatever for making the political environment about us and our kids.
right.
But everybody that doesn't have kids, it's not that you don't have any stake in the game. So we do have a bigger stake. You're responsible for your kids in ways that you don't think about. And when you reach adulthood and your kids reach adulthood, when you reach the point, not adulthood, but you're sort of your second adulthood. People like to call being empty nesters your second childhood. But that's when you have less control over what happens to your kids and more worries.
Yeah. Well, what
And so what do you do? And the only thing you can do is vote sensibly. The only thing you can do is give them advice and hope they follow it, and do your best not to fuck up the country that's they're inheriting. And
right.
if you don't have that stake in the game, you don't care about it. You don't worry about it. Maybe you have nieces and nephews that you care about. Maybe there are kids that are attached to you that you care about. But I can tell you from being an aunt and being a mom, it's not the same,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I've got a grandkid now. And as worried as I am about how things are going to be for my kids when I'm gone, I'm even more worried about how things are going to be for him,
Yeah.
because I won't be here to have any control over it. I won't be here to vote or rail on the internet about how irresponsible the government is or how irresponsible women are being and all that. And I don't currently have a granddaughter. I have a grandson, so I have a future pet taxpayer
Yeah.
as my grandkid. And women can get pissed off about hearing that, but unless you work in an industry where you make more than the average man, you're not paying net taxes. You're getting back everything that you pay in. And if you have kids and you don't have a man in your life, you're getting back more than you pay in, which means you're getting back other people's tax refunds that they should be getting. So don't tell me that you pay taxes. The government borrows taxes from you and then pays them back with interest. But in terms of JD Vance and who he is, I went ahead and got his book and the Hillbilly Elegy, and I'm not getting much time to just sit and read. I get interrupted like every 5 minutes right now at work,
Yeah.
so that's not. But I did get about 100 pages in, and it's not a long book, so it's about halfway. And I recommend reading it if you want to understand the man and the state of Ohio. Um, there's everything that he said in there. It just really hits home. Right down to referring to Middletown as Middletucky and explaining why. And we have other communities in northwestern Ohio where I grew up. We have Spencertucky, which is Spencerville, and there are similar reasons, although not exactly the same, because it wasn't the same industries that picked up people from Appalachia and said, "Hey, come move here and work." But it was very, very interesting to read a normal Ohioan trying to explain to the Yale crowd why Middletown is is Middle Tucky, and also what a crotch rocket is.
Mm-hmm.
um, and I definitely think that people should read that, and I definitely support this guy, and I definitely think that he is right in what he said about his opponents. And I hope he doesn't continue to try to explain because they're not approaching it from a lack of understanding. They're approaching it from how can we twist this to hurt this guy?
Yeah, they're using everything they can to score political points on him.
And I'm sorry, Brian. If you wanted to say something, say it now, because I'm going to be going on for ages.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
All right. In the next few minutes, I'm going to piss off an awful lot of people, as I sometimes do. Of all of the double standards out there, in this tapestry of gender relations, this is one of the very few I've discovered that actually works against women in like common parlance, in the mimetic sentiment of what we call household names or whatever. It's the trope of the crazy cat lady thing, because there really is no equivalent for men. There's nothing in the other column at this scale. Wine aunt doesn't count, by the way, as a unique bias against women. You might say there's no equivalent of a wine aunt. You might say there's no such thing as a beer uncle. No, but there are uncle tropes. There's such a trope as a racist uncle. Even though aunts are just as likely to be racist as uncles. And there is such a trope as what is it? The uncle who touched me? Even though aunts are a great deal more likely to touch you. They've barely even got through the door before they're kissing you all over the face like that's perfectly okay. And then there's the actual rapist aunts, but I guess I digress. The question is, what would be the male equivalent of a cat lady? And I put it to you, dear audience, given that I just substituted wine for beer just now, and you all casually went along with it as a parallel for female and male, because there are culturally obvious gendered analogues with things like wine and beer and things like cats and dogs. And I put it to you that the equivalent of a cat lady is a dog gentleman. You may, of course, interpret gentleman with as many fedora tips as you wish, and we'll see what translates and what doesn't. My friends, you might think it sad and tragic and cringe when a woman considers a cat to be her best friend. But I put it to you, and I will leave a pause here for you to guess Kasparov's next move. Not only are there many men who consider a dog to be their best friend, moreover, we have a certain phrase, a certain ubiquitous sentiment in our culture, don't we? We refer to the dog itself as man's best friend. Yes, I realize this point cuts itself off historically because it's been around for as long as man has meant humanity in general. But my point still stands. I personally, I think it's weird when people describe captive animals as their friends, especially when those people call themselves the owners of those captive animals or the masters of those captive animals. Yet weirdly, they refer to their property as friends. But that's just me. Please bestow your indignant comments, friends. I'm just saying That's just me. I'm open to the possibility that there is something I'm simply not understanding about that whole relationship and how it works. You know, the following is a sentence you might want to timestamp because it's an important piece of reference that people keep forgetting. You ready? No one else has to like the same music as you. No one else has to like the same food as you. No one has to like the same color schemes as you. And no one has to like the same animals as you. End of quote. Repeat the line. If you like dogs and that's how you express your fondness for dogs, okay, there's some stuff I don't understand, but whatever. Your body, your choice. Wait, what? Never mind. But in the meantime, there are people out there who sincerely hold to the ethical principle that if you don't like dogs, then you and I can't get along. It's not even if you hate dogs. It's just that if you don't like dogs, if they're like not in your top 10 animals, then you and I can't get along. That sort of thing. And this isn't like those funny meme debates like pineapple on pizza. This isn't like Die Hard is a Christmas movie. People will have very heated discussions about that shit. They'll call each other reprobates and psychopaths for the blasphemy of enjoying pineapple on pizza or regarding Die Hard as a Christmas movie. But they know it's all in good fun. They know it's all just for the bands. That's why the argument persists beyond its otherwise ordinary shelf life in the fun layer of bubbles that exists beyond the waterline. But this dog shit, and by that I mean the shit about dogs, this shit about how if you don't like dogs, then I don't like you. It's hard to tell where that is. It's hard to tell how much of that iceberg is a joke in the bubbles above the surface and how much is, for real. And I'm sorry to have to drag you down this garden path again, gentlemen, dog gentlemen, but I'm only revealing to you the equivalent baggage that women deal with in the event that they have pet cats. All those slings and arrows you felt just now while I was grinding us through that seemingly irrelevant tangent, that's what women have to deal with if they have pet cats. And guess what? For every childless woman with a cat, there is a childless man with a dog.
Having one cat doesn't make you a cat lady.
No,
there was one in my neighborhood. She had 17.
I should point out what I just said is bullshit. I have no idea what the actual ratio is. I'm just making it up. But it shouldn't matter. What matters is not the cat or the dog. It's the lonely women and the lonely men. And there's fucking millions of them all over the place. They belong together as men and women should. They would be delighted to meet each other and spend their lives together. But for whatever reason, they've been driven apart. And they're living isolated and unfulfilled lives. And so they're reaching out to cheap and easy alternatives like drugs or junk food or 24-hour plasma screen entertainment or captive animals that they use as crude substitutes for the children they so obviously crave. And again, I'm not denigrating anyone. It's easy for me because I have no desire for children or pets. I don't wish to lead anyone, never mind be anyone's master, let alone be anyone's owner. And I realize that, if anything, makes me weird. Weird.
Yeah.
You
I will point out one thing that dogs do have over women, and it's one of the reasons that we do know why single men and single women are not getting together, and maybe single men have a dog instead of a girlfriend when it's an instead, is because at least you know that your dog is the bitch that won't take everything you own on the way out of the relationship. If your dog runs away because you're an asshole or because there's something wrong with your dog, it just goes. She just goes, he just goes, whatever. Dog gone. But you don't lose your house, and you don't lose half your retirement. You don't have half your stuff taken. The dog won't go to court, and as happened to one of my friends, demand that your inheritance from your Native American ancestors be given to her because she's Wiccan and she knows how to use it, and you aren't religious and therefore you don't. That argument was made in an Auglaize County court, and she won. So I don't feel bad about guys who have dogs and don't have girlfriends in terms of like there's something wrong with those guys. I think that happens because there's something wrong with women. And there's something been very wrong with women for decades. We were talking about this before the show. Boomer music, like the classic rock. There are some songs. There are a few songs that are about dysfunctional relationships, right? But most of them, and you usually find those more, country music, the blues, like where issues like poverty and hardship have impacted on relationships and made them more difficult to maintain if you're not very dedicated. And those types of hardships can be the litmus test for your relationship. Either you have the strength to maintain your relationship, or you don't, and your relationship falls apart. But in any case, like those old songs, there were a lot of songs about hopefulness in relationships and how loving relationships were, or how tragedy took a good, loving, happy relationship and some external factor took one person out of it, usually with death, like an accident or a killing or something, right? And I know that some of the greatest songs out there are about dysfunctional relationships, but damn, 90% of of Gen X's relationship songs are about dysfunctional relationships, right? It's just that's not a solid statistic, by the way. That's just me stating an opinion. But just you turn on the radio and it's song after song after song about some guy being mistreated by a woman, some woman being mistreated by a man. I'm strong because I survived the way that you mistreated me. I'm never having a relationship again because I survived the way you mistreated me. Just one after another after another. And you go back and you listen to old music about women. It's about how smart they are, how strong they are, how dedicated they are, how happy they are, how much fun it is to be a woman. That today's music and Gen X's music about women. Oh, what a bitch I am. What a terrible person I am. I have the dysfunctional female anthem going, I'm my own worst enemy. Isn't that great? Date me. Like, it's no wonder we have a nation of cat ladies and dog gentlemen, right? Because we have had this change of attitude toward each other and this change of attitude toward dating. Like that isn't just something that you can blame on people's hobbies, what people enjoy, what people do for fun, what people do on the side of their serious part of their life. That is something that is there's a fundamental fissure between men and women right now. And a large portion of it is women embracing and celebrating dysfunctionality on a profound level that has made it impossible for men and women to relate to each other because men don't have the luxury of doing that, right? They don't get to embrace dysfunction. If they embrace dysfunction, they end up in jail. And so there you go. I would say the reason that Vance's comments are very, very pertinent to the modern situation is not because cat ladies and dog gentlemen exist. It's because we can criticize dog gentlemen for being dog gentlemen, but if you criticize cat ladies for being cat ladies, all hell breaks loose. And rather than trying to figure out what the dysfunction is, we freak out that women have been mistreated over their choices,
made
and they're
uncomfortable.
upset.
Agreed. And to finish my point, y'all thought JD Vance was weird? You have no idea. If JD Vance is weird to you, brace yourself for what's coming. When you're done drinking the foaming head of this obscure European craft ale, as it tickles the whiskers of your fake Truny mustache, you have no concept of how much weird is waiting for you at the bottom of the tankard. I'm right here. I'm the end of level boss of weird. You should see the size of this neckbeard that I'm sporting right now. I'm like Shrek the sheep who got lost in a cave for 6 years. There's enough wool here to start a trade war. Come at me, bro. And with that, I've added nothing to this conversation, and I apologize for nothing.
Oh no, you're fine. All right, so let me just to make sure I didn't miss any more super chow. Sometimes they don't go through, but it looks like we're good. So I'm gonna move on to the next story. Let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. This kind of reminds me of I forget his name, but there's like this country guy, bald. He's like a Democrat, like political commentator, older gentleman, and he was talking about how the Democrat Party is run by preachy females, and he got into a lot of trouble for that. It's sort of like that. It's the same idea. It's not really about them, like the pets they own. It's about the state of their life, where it is, and how it affects not just their political decisions, but the way that the party panders to them, and it has no concern for what the downstream effects might be. The difference between a childless person and a person with a family is the person with the family has there must be some pressure on them to tread with wisdom in terms of their decisions going forward, how they invest in their children and their children's children, and how they teach them and how they prepare them for the world as their life starts to head towards its own twilight. Whereas someone who doesn't have them, it doesn't mean they can't think about the future. Of course they can. Allison does. She doesn't have kids, right? Mike does. He doesn't have kids, but there's no pressure. So you have to hope that they have the common sense and decency to behave in a wise and responsible manner with their decisions, and not simply sit there and say, well, how does this benefit me right now? And then act on that, because that is what the Dems are counting on. That's what the voting bloc of single women, that as Allison has coined it, that's what it is. It acts in the moment. It's not invested in the future. They can obviously choose it, but a lot of them aren't. And why would they? And that's kind of like the challenge we're facing. So anyway, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. We got to move on to the next story. So I look forward to seeing your thoughts. We did it, Joe. So Vice President Kamala Harris has secured enough delegate support to win the Democratic presidential nomination after Joe Biden ended his bid for a second term. Conveniently, Harris gathered 2,688 delegates, surpassing the required 1,976 in just over a day after announcing her candidacy. Over 30 states have pledged support, with Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina, New Hampshire, and Florida being the first to do so. Many would-be competitors have opted not to challenge her and have offered their support instead. Harris expressed her gratitude and intention to formally accept the nomination soon. The delegate support will become binding when votes are cast during the Democratic Convention on August 19th. Voting on the candidates would begin as early as next week. Harris's campaign has raised over $100 million from more than a million donors since Sunday, breaking fundraising records. She has also received major endorsements from influential party members and organizations.
So this is no surprise. Like the Democrat Party playbook is to look in the progressive stack and pick as many things as they possibly can from it and apply those wherever they can, and then say, yeah, this is what we're doing, and you have to go along with it, or your insert list of isms and phobias here. You're infected with the isms and the phobias if you tell us no, if you have boundaries, if you disapprove of our policies, if you don't want to go along with the things that we're suggesting that we should have the right to do to you. How dare you hate this person solely over their demographic? What's wrong with you? And they've done that with the bureaucracy, right? With government bureaucratic positions of responsibility for decades. They've done that with the not necessarily the candidates they run, although candidates for lower office, they've been doing that for decades. And they did that when Obama ran for office. People now can go back and say, well, Obama, healthcare, blah, blah, blah. But when he ran on hope and change and didn't explain to everybody what that meant. And if you asked, you were racist. How dare you hate this man solely because he is black? It has nothing to do with the fact that you don't know anything about him, what he's done, what his plans are, what his interests are, what he thinks of the United States, what his morality is, or any of that stuff. Nope, it's because he's black. And how dare you ask about policy? You wouldn't ask that if he was a white man. Well, we do, actually, yeah. But yeah, what's what we're gonna get in the next year or so, basically till November, and then throughout the next administration, whoever wins, is if you don't vote for Kamala, or if you didn't vote for Kamala, it has nothing to do with the craziness of the Democrat Party right now. It has nothing to do with maybe not agreeing with the policies that they have in place right now, or the policies that they say they want to put in place in the next administration. It has nothing to do with not liking the way they've run the country for the last 4 years, and how upset people have been. It has nothing to do with how angry normie women are about the Democrat Party erasing them, in their opinion. Which, those of us in the men's rights movement are like, well, welcome to what men have been experiencing for hundreds of years. But in any case, it has nothing to do with any of that, right? No, it's because you're infected with the isms and the phobias. If you maintain your boundaries, if you maintain your same political opinions, your same interests, and your same objections to government overreach and government corruption and policy that is dysfunctional, when the person who is putting them forth has progressive stack points, you're bad. Shame on you. Like, that's what we're going to get. There will be no, this is good, and here's why. There will be no, this is going to help you in these ways. In fact, you'll be told if it doesn't help you, if it's hard on you, if it's bad for you, if it's taking things away from you and making your life miserable, shame on you for being upset that you have it hard now because someone else doesn't. There will be no positivity in this campaign. It will be all about shame. That's my prediction. And don't fall for it. Don't let anybody tell you that you have to vote for her because she's a woman. Don't let anybody tell you that you have to vote for her because she's a woman of color. Look at policy. Look at what her administration that she's been working with for the last 4 years has done, what they have promised to do, what values they put forth, what they say they believe in, and what they demonstrate that they believe in, and vote based on that, and hope that the election doesn't get stolen.
Russia is a big country. Russia is a powerful country. Ukraine is a small country.
And we should be prepared for what could be, unburdened by what has been.
Tomorrow is tomorrow, and today is today, and yesterday was yesterday, but soon today will be yesterday, and tomorrow will be today. Well, all I will say is that she was the most unpopular Democratic nominee when she was running for the presidency, had 0 votes. And Joe Biden installed her as vice president specifically because she checked boxes. That's not an exaggeration. That is the truth. And you can tell by how awful she is at her job that she is just there to match those quotas. And the thing that I think is really interesting about this, the way I see it, is no matter how this thing shakes out, if Kamala Harris wins, which is entirely possible because women are freaking organizing around it because they have no mind of their own, and they just move like a fucking blob that says, women, let's vote together because there's a woman. But if she wins, we will see the disaster that follows, and it will be the worst first female president of the United States. Like, I guarantee it. It'd be so bad that maybe then men will be like, you know what? We shouldn't allow this to happen ever again. Like, it's going to be absolute disaster if that happens. And there's going to be, you're not going to be able to criticize her because they're going to call you sexist if you do. You're not going to be able to have an opinion on her decisions at all. It's going to be a disaster, and I'm ready. I'm like, this is the only way people are going to learn that you shouldn't be voting based on fucking plumbing and that you should be voting on ability. But if you knew that you were voting on ability, this woman would be nowhere near the position that she's in now. But Joe Biden put her there, and women didn't complain. They were just like, oh my God, first black female vice president. We did it, ladies. Trying to live vicariously through somebody else's failing upwards, you know? And they're just going to keep doing it. I'm sorry, but my opinion on women is very low. Like, it is rock bottom. When I see women online saying, yay, team us, I'm just like, this is so beyond sad and pathetic. Sad and pathetic. And that's where we are right now. And I don't want her to win. I want Trump to trounce her. That's what I'm hoping for. But I fully suspect that women are going to get so mobilized and they don't even know why they're doing it. They're just fucking lemmings. Just going and casting the ballot for the vagina. Yeah, but I think that there's a lot. I don't know if it's a majority, but there is a lot of women that will simply vote because she's a woman. I saw this happen in Chicago, by the way. When Lori Lightfoot ran for mayor, she got voted only because she was a black woman. And she nearly destroyed the city. And then when they had to kick her out, then there was another opportunity to get somebody in there that was going to actually do something about the crime. But they voted for Brennan Johnson because he was a black man and no other reason. And now Chicago's in worse shape. Like, I went to visit my family, and it is crumbling. And there are tents everywhere and migrant children on the streets. And no one is figuring it out. Maybe we shouldn't have voted for the guy based on his skin color. Maybe we should have voted for the guy based on his policies. No, we got to have one of ours in there. So we're going to vote for him. That was the black people. And the whites, they were like, we can't have one of ours. We hate ourselves too much. We're going to vote for the black guy too. I could see the exact same thing playing out here. The exact same thing.
Yeah, this is something that women are going to have to figure out because, like, Kamala Harris is not on my team. There is no
No.
team us. There is no team women with somebody like her who does not care about other women, and she doesn't care about men at all. And you
No.
cannot care about, if you don't care about men, then you don't care about women. You can't care about one sex without caring about the other. And
And
that's
they're gonna use, by the way, the abortion issue is gonna be the
yeah,
primary. It's gonna be all about the women. That's why they're putting her there. I promise you. They did this with Hillary Clinton too.
yep.
But
And
for whatever
Hillary
reason,
lost.
Hillary lost. She's more unlikable. But I think that unless, and again, I'm telling you, these women voters, they're not the brightest. They just go off of, oh, she's got titties. I got titties. I'll vote for her. That's what's gonna happen. I'm
Well, the one
sorry,
thing
but that's
women
what's
are
gonna
upset about,
happen.
the one thing that women are upset about that might take away from that, and I'm seeing this from both sides of the political fence, not just one, because of radical feminists being upset at left-wing feminists, at I guess intersectional feminists like Kamala, and that is, like I said, men have faced this for hundreds of years, but women, a lot of normie women, feel erased right now because the trans issue has been taken over by the trender phenomenon, I guess you could put it. And with the trender phenomenon has come this deliberate effort to erase the concept of gender altogether.
Sure.
And that's, women are mad about trans women in women's sports. They're mad about trans women in women's bathrooms. And I've had conversations with women about this, and I get attacked by both sides when I start pointing out this is just women getting a taste of what men have always experienced. They don't like that. They don't like hearing that. They don't like hearing that this is a result of their feminism, or this is a result of their support for feminism, and they don't like the idea that it's going to continue and there isn't anything they can do to stop it. So I don't know. I don't think, because Kamala has embraced that kind of thing, I don't think that she's going to be, women are not going to universally step up behind her. I think, yeah, there'll be plenty of intersectional feminists, right, that step up behind her, but she's not going to get the rad fems, and she's not going to get the tradcons because they're mad. And just like JD Vance said, they think of themselves in the moment.
Yeah.
Like maybe the traditionalists won't because they've got kids, but the rad fems, a lot of them don't. And yeah, they're gonna vote against her just because of the trans issues.
Well,
And I'm not saying that traditional trans issues are at fault here. I am talking about the people that are obviously in your face, angry, and trying to pass off, a bearded dragon as a woman, and then acting like you shouldn't be able to tell the difference, and you should have to ask their pronouns, and they can't tell your sex without asking your pronouns as well, despite your overt signs, of your gender. So yeah, I don't know that I think that women are going to be unified on this. I think they're going to be less unified than they were behind Hillary. And I think
guess we'll
Kamala is
see.
more unlikable than Hillary too,
She might
because
be.
everything she does is cringy and weird.
Yeah. Well, she might have to get a VP that people like more. But my thought, my final thing on this is that at least now we know what a woman is again.
Yeah.
It was pretty mysterious, but now we know. So we're gonna get that back. But I don't know. You have more faith in women than me. So anyway, let us know.
I don't know that so much faith in women as I think that women will vote against her for the same selfish reasons they would have voted for her if she was a more unifying candidate.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that the case against Trump is stronger than the case for Harris. So I think that that's another thing too. It's not that they're voting for somebody they like, but they're voting against somebody that they despise, even though they don't really understand why. So, and Trump has been demonized so much that somebody tried to kill him, and people are still coping about it, like that. Either it should have happened or that he deserved it or something. So I'm not surprised at the potential cruelty that of some people to vote against a guy who was almost murdered because they don't like him. So I think that that's entirely possible. So anyway, let's move on to the last story. Let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. So I was going to cover this one thing about the shooter, but apparently the news about that is still ongoing and developing, so I'm not going to cover it. But instead, I'm going to do a little thing about the Olympics, but not what everybody else has been doing. So I'm not concerned about the weird, creepy, and very French thing that they did, but rather this interesting, funny story that I saw that Lindsay shared with me. So during the women's 100-meter freestyle relay on July 27, 2024, Bob Ballard, a longtime swimming commentator for Eurosport, made a inappropriate, putting that in quotes, comment about the Australian women's swim team. He said, quote, "Well, the women just finishing off. You know what women are like, hanging around, doing their makeup," end quote. Co-commentator Lizzie Simmons, a British swimmer and Olympic athlete, immediately reacted on air, describing the comment as outrageous. Eurosport subsequently removed Ballard from its commentary roster, citing his inappropriate remark. Ballard apologized for his comment on social media, saying, quote, "The comments I made during the Australian freestyle relay victory ceremony on Saturday have caused some offense. It was never my intention to upset or belittle anyone, and if I did, I apologize. I am a massive advocate of women's sport," end quote.
A massive advocate. Has anyone? I don't know if I might be the first to bring this up, but have you all heard about what a knife did in Britain quite recently? It was awful. Yeah, it was the naughtiest knife that ever existed in the UK, and now terrible things have happened because of this knife, and now we need to get rid of all the knives because it's the knives that are doing this. You'll get where I'm going with this. Oh, sake.
I think it's a great line. So, I don't know. There's this movie. It's called Best of Show. It's about a dog show. It's like a faux documentary. Very funny. Made by the same team that did This Is Spinal Tap. If you guys ever seen
Oh
This Is Spinal
God,
Tap.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
the movie that created a band.
Yes. So they made this movie called Best in Show, and it's about a dog show. And there was the scene at the end where they're doing the show itself, and there's an announcer played by, I think his name is Fred Willard, and he's a really funny guy, and he's like just saying whatever's on his mind, and he's really like he just says shit that's offensive or like kind of shits all over the prestige of the dog show because he's just like this regular guy, like sounds like he used to be a sportscaster. This is what it reminds me of. It's kind of like remember the guy who there was a sportscaster who's doing a WNBA coverage, and he said something about the women that they were nappy headed hoes, and
Oh my God,
he got fired. He got fired for that. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's hilarious. Like, you just gotta reacting this way is kind of silly. But there you go. Yeah, he said, I'll repeat the line because I think it's pretty funny. "Well, the women just finishing off. You know what women are like, hanging around, doing their makeup."
But the funny thing about that is
smoking a cigar and
women only get outraged about stuff like that because it's true and it hits home with them. Right?
Yeah.
Because look, a woman like me, if I was finishing up with an athletic event and I heard somebody say that, I'd be like, well, yeah, that's most of my colleagues in sports are like that. It's, boy, I'm glad I'm allergic to this stuff because it helped me not have to spend all that extra time doing that shit and that extra money doing that shit. Like, but yeah, they don't get mad if somebody were to say something like that and it just was completely off base and nothing like women. People would just laugh at him. Look at that idiot, doesn't know anything about women. He's Look at him saying, this stupid shit that doesn't have anything to do with women. But no, he said something true. So therefore,
Yeah.
he must be crucified.
Yeah. The women are only proving that they're just like anti-fun. Like the Olympics are just like a shit show now, and at least we could have had this chuckle, but you had to take that from us too. Thanks, ladies. Anyway, anybody
Yep.
else have any thoughts on this? I didn't
I
cover
think
the
the
knife
thoughts
story.
were
'Cause I
the
thought it was a
women that
bit
got
dark.
mad.
Yeah, right. They were probably putting on makeup when they heard, and they like smeared their lipstick. Anyway, well, those are the stories. I guess what we'll do is we're gonna head into the patron show. Oh, I did get a Rumble rant. Thank you, Nova Fan 21. Nova Fan gives us $1, and it says, "Not sure if it was brought up, but I heard sperm banks have become less financially stable. Hopefully, this may give some hope, preventing men from paying child support from sperm banks." Well, I think that in general, like the artificial insemination stuff is not reliable. Karen has talked about this, and it's something that people are lied about. Like they're told it's reliable, but they're not. So, I mean, just just do it the old-fashioned way, like in Demolition Man. Why don't we just do it the old-fashioned way? If you're gonna do it, like if you're not gonna do it, don't do it. But if you're gonna do it the old-fashioned way. All right. Anyway, that was a Rumble rant. Let me see if there's another. Yes, I do have another super child. Thank you, Richard B. Air gives us $5 and says, "Remember that old Dolly Parton song about the coat of many colors that her mother made for her from a bag of scraps, and her mother telling her the story of Joseph while stitching it by hand, or stitching it by hand, I think, and how the other children ridiculed her for it. Is there any other music today that feels similar stories in other genres? Last time I heard, the urban music doesn't recount any struggle like that unless it glorifies violence as the solution to hardship." I assume that like country and gospel and like
Yeah,
they still do because they tend to be religious, but I
music
don't
is very
listen
divided right
to
now.
it. So
So there's a lot of pop country
yeah,
that is women singing about how entitled they are to
yeah,
special treatment from men, to be viewed as something special by society and so on, right? And there's a lot of country that is sort of men reacting to that. There's country that is about family dysfunction and about poverty and everything, and then there's a whole divide there where there's this gaping gulf between that type of country music and country music that is about family and community. And then there's a whole religious genre of country. There's a religious genre of rock. There's even a religious genre of rap,
yeah,
and
sure,
a religious genre of heavy metal. And contrary to what you might think, it's not all bad. Even from the perspective of someone who doesn't really get into gospel music that is those other genres as much as like I like the old fashioned. I like the Gaithers because the music is upbeat and just makes you feel happy, even if you don't listen to the words. But in any case,
that's what
yeah,
ska
all of
does
that.
for me.
Yeah,
Mpa,
there's a
mpa,
lot of
mpa, mpa.
different. Yeah, there's a lot of different music out there that is that. It's just there is a shitload of angry, sad, negative, aren't we dysfunctional? Look how dysfunctional we are. Music out there from our generation, and I
Yeah,
think it's just I guess I would call it the broken people music. There's a lot of broken people music, and there's always been some broken people music, and some of the songs out of that have always been great simply because there's something real behind it. But now it's popular to be a broken person. And so there's a lot of those mindless, all based on God, I can't think of the name of the something's canon.
hmm? I don't know what you're talking about.
Ah, that's so frustrating. And this is going to happen to me more and more. Sorry, guys. Um, But in any case, just because I'm working too much and I'm not getting enough sleep, so I will forget all my words. But in any case, like all the music that has all the same chords and all the same uh, beat and all the same sound to it. No, it's not. It's a person's name, not a thing. Um, and it's 2 syllables. But anyway, it's a lot of that music, from pop music to heavy metal to hard rock to rap to country to whatever. It doesn't matter what genre. The song will be about um, how dysfunctional the individual is or how entitled the individual is, and people will just latch onto it. Oh, look, this is so great. And that's it. That's all we get.
Yeah.
And so you kind of
Well,
have to.
I think it's because that's what's promoted.
Yeah.
So you have to fortunately we live in the time of the internet, so you can find
Yeah.
whatever you want. You don't have to listen to whatever the studios push out.
If you find yourself depressed, dealing with severe depression, and stuff like that, don't listen to the radio. Turn the radio off. Find music that makes you feel better online. If you have kids, fucking turn the radio off. Because that's just not something that you want to raise them on. Go find great music from the 50s and the 60s, somewhat the 70s. Search for the great music from the 80s, and there was great music in the 90s. You have to find it too, right? And play that for them. And if you can't find anything else, look for songs that were played on the Dr. Demento show and listen to funny music.
Mm-hmm. What about one-eyed, one-horned, flying purple
people eater?
I'm here. just your friendly reminder that I'm here doing my
thing.
Yeah. Oh,
yes,
yeah.
listen
Mike
to
makes
parodies.
Lots of fun songs.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need something that's a little bit of a release, and that's one of the things that the '90s music was good for.
Yeah.
I was gonna mention. So there's a song by Bryan Adams, "The Summer of '69." And I used to think it was a very happy, romantic song, but I think it might be about the Manson murders.
It wasn't about it wasn't about the year 1969.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It was about the number 69. If you'll get what I'm talking about.
Nice.
Nice, exactly.
But it is also the summer of '69 is also the year that the Manson family killed those people, and it was officially the end of the summer of, or the whole free love period was those murders. So kind of dark. I don't know if that was on I think there's a lot of debate about what it means, but Bryan Adams has hinted that it is more of a sexual sexual reference that he's making.
Yeah.
But anyway,
there's a lot of songs that had sexual reference back in the day that were not overtly. It's more fun. Euphemisms are more fun than bluntness when it comes to discussing sex. Because it's fun to see people get it. Oh yeah, ha ha ha, har har har. Nudge nudge, wink wink. Know what I mean? It's a lot more fun than singing about how wet your genitalia is while crawling around on the floor in a negligee for cameras.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, for sure. Love that stuff. But anyway, we're going to head into the patron show now. I did get one more super chat. So Iggy Thunders gave us $5 and says, when Brian hears Dem voters being called childless cat ladies, I must go now. My planet needs me. Thank you, Iggy Thunders. All right, so we're going to head into the patron show now, and I don't know what we're going to do. We'll probably just hang out. I'm going to eat some chicken wings. I will have my microphone off, so this won't be a what do they call it, where you make noise in the microphone? The ASMR. I'm not ASMRing chicken wings. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, ASMR used to be very specific to quiet noise in the microphone.
Yeah, now it's anything, right?
It really sucks because you used to be able to go to sleep to ASMR, and now it seems to be popular to put sounds in that will not make you go to sleep.
Yeah. All right, so anyway, we're going to head into the patron show now. So if you guys want to join us, become a badger yourself, go to feedthebadger.com, set up a monthly subscription. $5 a month will get you into our Discord, and you'll be able to enjoy all the additional content, whatever that might be. And hopefully I'll see you guys there. Remember, our monthly fundraiser is still going on. We're very close to our goal, so please help us get over the hump by going to feedthebadger.com/support and giving us a little bit of support so that we can keep creating this content, which just feels like it's a never-ending slog, but I like doing it, to be honest. So anyway, with all that said, thank you, Hannah and Mike, for coming on the show with me. If you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today, and please share this video, because sharing is caring. Thank you so much for coming on today's episode of HBR News, and we'll talk to you all in the next one.
Are machines, dude. Okay, they are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.